Do you want to go? Okay.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the first town hall of 2025. Hopefully, first of many. I'm Matt. I'm part of the live stream team helping coordinate this webinar, and I'll kick it back over to Steve and Andy for today's webinar, and then at the end we'll have some questions.
Perfect. Although I think right now we'll stay in a holding pattern. Give it a few more minutes. It's a I used to, when I was in college, we used to have to give the professor X amount of time before we left the class.
That's
And,
right. 7 minutes. Watch the
right
clock.
right now, I'm willing to give that grace period to everybody. So we'll wait and see. A few minutes to have more people come.
Matt, you want to go over the rules for posting questions?
Yeah, so you'll be able to see in your Q&A to submit questions. We'll review those and process them as they come in, and I'll help facilitate making sure that they get answered.
Perfect.
Steve, maybe
Yes.
while we wait, we could do some introductions.
Certainly. Okay. I guess I'll go first, but then Sierra, you're going to be next. So, hey, I'm Steve Taylor. I'm the president of the Experimental Sounding Rocket Association, or from this point forward will be called ESRA. I've been the president. I've been involved in the competition since 2018. I've been at it and supported it from a volunteer standpoint, and took the president last year. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to you, Sierra, and let you introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sierra Stockwell. I am the Uprange Operations Manager and Registration Coordinator this year, and I am a former student competitor, so I've been in your shoes. We're excited to answer all your questions today.
And she's the one that organized the heck out of registration process last year, so she's the one you can thank. Let me go ahead and throw it over to Andy.
Hi, everyone. Andy Berger. I'm the executive director for ESRA, which all that means is I'm guy that does a lot of the general operations and administration for the event year round. So exciting year, and it's been crazy busy. I know you guys are waiting for a lot of answers, and hopefully this webinar and this town hall will be able to give you guys some more information for that. And we appreciate you attending, and looking forward to having the event, and we'll be chatting quite a bit, and hopefully we'll do these things a lot more often than just once, for sure.
All right. Hey, Anita, I'm going to throw the ball over to you.
Okay. So I'm Anita Jimenez, and I am the Director of Competition Operations for the 2025 IREC. So I've been a part of this competition since 2018. Like Sierra, I was also a student. And then in 2023, I became a volunteer of ESRA. So this is my second year as the Director of Competition of Operations. This role is actually quite huge. So I write and oversee the rules and requirements, coordinate all the judges who score technical reports, podium sessions, the design and build quality, and collecting and recording all the scores. And then in the end, I get to present the winners of the technical awards at closing ceremonies. So that's my role.
Awesome. Thanks, Anita. Erica, you're the only other name I see at the moment. Could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Yes, my name is Erica Bovey. I am the solids pad lead this year at ESRA. I was also previously a competitor and started volunteering last year, so excited to continue making some positive change in some of those downrange operations and just kind of help out wherever possible to make this another great competition.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I believe Logan or Matt, you are identified as an ESRA Zoom host. If you guys, I think you are.
You're both muted and no video.
Yes, hello. I'm
there's
Logan Herrera. I'm the media and live stream leader. I was also a competitor in the past at the first Spaceport America Cup, and helping to make this webinar happen too.
Awesome. Thank you, Logan. He's the one, ultimately he's responsible. He was the one responsible for all of the live streaming after, I mean, I guess sort of professionalizing our live stream, and has done an amazing job. And then Matt Ryan, could you introduce yourself?
Sure thing. I just swapped computers while while waiting, but I'm Matt Ryan. I've been on the live stream team the past few years, and hoping to facilitate another great year wherever we land.
Awesome. Well, I think that's enough time with that. Let's go ahead and get
Wait,
started.
You forgot your
Oh,
lovely
wait.
wife.
Hey,
That's
believe
Oh,
it
he's
or
gonna
not,
pay for that one.
believe it or not, that was not on purpose. So I'd like you to introduce Stephanie Taylor, who is our event manager.
right. And happy to be here and thank everybody else other than Steve for remembering that I was online. Anyway, I'm the event manager. I do a lot of things with logistics for the convention center, the award center, and I will also be reaching out. I have not been a competitor. I'm not a rocket person. So I'll be reaching out to everybody, students and other volunteers alike, looking for other volunteers who may want to help out. And it could be mothers of rocket people, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. I think it's really an exciting event. My first time was last year, so I'm happy to be here.
Hey,
Back to
one
you,
of the things,
Steve.
thank you, thank you. If you don't know that we are somewhat related, so at any rate, um, one of the things, and I've made a point to this last year, is I really, really enjoy the young blood coming into the organization and taking responsibilities for areas that they have an impact. And you can see that on the panel of folks that are here assembled today. So, okay, let's go ahead, Matt, and bring up the presentation.
All right, so I think you should see it now.
I do see it. Everybody sees it, correct? Okay.
Yep.
And I'm controlling it, I assume. Is that right?
Not quite, but I'll
Okay.
take care of it.
Okay. So just from an agenda, you'll as we've tried to communicate in the past, we're doing a new site evaluation. We'll go through what we've done, both in evaluating other sites and where we stand with our current site. We'll hear an update from Anita on our rules that have been updated. Logan, in addition to having our live stream and media responsibility, he's also become the subject matter expert in the area of ITAR and USML. So we'll have him do that discussion. So I think it's important to understand what my drivers were for the event. I took over as a president last year. This year, I have a new set, but I figure I want you to understand what my goals were for last year's event. Safety first has always got to be incorporated. It's something that we focus a lot on. I'll keep talking, Matt, while we get our presentation back.
There we go.
All right. And so we did an awful lot. Dr. Ken Overton did an awful lot of things behind the scenes, which you guys hadn't seen, but he ran over $1.5 million Monte Carlo analysis to make sure that we understood where ballistic zones were, given the set of weather conditions. And we spent a lot of time on safety. Running it like a business, you'll notice we've taken over the areas that we have fiscal responsibility for. So last year we took over the events at the convention center and at the event center for the award ceremony. And this year we're going to take over a little bit more. We're going to take over the sponsors and see if we can't have a better experience for our sponsors. Last year we wanted to enhance your experience. You'll notice the tents that came out to protect everybody that got destroyed in the Haboob. We had things like we had installed someone that has responsibility for merchandise, and we ended up with backpacks and some real nice merchandise that was there for y'all to take and have to bring home. And again, those things were things that were brought to us by former contestants that said, hey, we ought to do better at this area. Improve the process. Well, I guess it was kind of easy to throw a dart and hit that one because there was a lot of things that needed to be improved. And Sierra Stockwell, who introduced herself earlier, gets a big kudos for improving our registration process. And we did other things like the pager system for when things were ready. Still a fair amount of work to be done there. And then we wanted to expand the event and make it available to other teams. We didn't do well on that last year, and part of it was based on where we were holding the competition. So this year, increase the engineering challenge, and that's what's driving the entire changes that you're going to see. We're going to continue to improve our process, specifically around things like our launch queue, and luckily enough, Sierra has taken that responsibility. Expand the sponsor network and improve their experience. So as we take over for sponsors, we're going to increase, hopefully, the numbers, have more interaction with the students, because ultimately the sponsors want to have access to the best engineering talent in the world, and we want to make sure that that happens. And then this last two bullet points are in progress. Develop an international support network. I spent I spent a week over in Turkey with the Technofest people, and got a real good idea of what's going on there and how we're going to collaborate. We've had another meeting on how we might be doing some collaboration together, and then create a strategic advisory committee that includes both academics and industry. I think that's important for bullet point one, which is making sure that we're meeting the demands of who's out there. So let's move on to the next slide, which will get us to what we were looking for in a site. As you know, we've at Las Cruces, we're using that as kind of a background as we develop this criteria. The city must be able to host an event. It's got to be within international airport and accommodate everybody that's coming to their city. Convention center wise, this is kind of an area where we were squeezed a little bit in Las Cruces. We want to make sure that we have enough space so that we can accommodate the event, and our sponsors have enough room, and we have enough room to do our operations things. Launch site, this is a big one. It's we needed a higher waiver. We want to be able to do challenge you all for different things that will get you higher. We had to have enough space to be able to recovery. There had to be limited vegetation, and we need to be able to store those big connexes, the ones out at the spaceport where we have all of our equipment in. And then finally, we've adopted this basketball arena style venue where with stadium seating seems to work well, and put on a production, and we have to have a site that's capable of that. Okay, Matt, let's move to the next slide. So spaceport, spaceport, what we got last year. You see it's got a beautiful student prep area. We've got an operations area there. Las Cruces Convention Center, the spaceport itself for launching, and for Pan Am Center. And we're fortunate to have a really good partner with New Mexico State University. Then not a lot of slides because y'all, at least those that have been competitors before, understand that. Just to review our site evaluation and apply that template to the site in New Mexico. The city has demonstrated they can host the event. They've demonstrated that they can handle the number of rooms and Airbnbs. They can handle us well. Enough places to eat, all that stuff. It's a small, but the city is great. They've demonstrated the capability. As far as the convention center, we're overflowing. We're willing to expand into the parking lot. They are willing to actually help us do that with air-conditioned tents. But the parking lot is small, and we're overflowing that as it exists. We take away some of that parking space, we're going to have more of a parking problem. But overall, the convention center has done well for us. From a launch site standpoint, they have demonstrated capability. We've launched there since 2007, so that's 7 years with a couple of years off. But we've demonstrated our ability to launch there. Although we have a lower than desired waiver, and they're anxious if they have us back, we're going to have to keep our competition categories as they were last year, which mean we would not be able to have a two-stage with a higher altitude category, and our demonstration flights would be very limited. Awards ceremony, beautiful facility at the Pan Am Center, and our university partner, New Mexico State, has been great with us. You can see why we are looking to evaluate other sites based on the launch site. So the first place that approached us was Southern Utah University, and Gary Rosenfield, who is a member of the Tripoli board that also is the CEO at Aerotech and RCS rocketry company. Southern Utah University is, you'll see here on the left-hand side, that was the entrance into, I believe that was their engineering facility, and have a dedicated engineering building that looked like an engineering building, right? If you look at the picture below, that's them offering up their makerspace to us so that if teams needed to do some repairs, which I really didn't want, but they're offering that space for us because things happen and rockets get dropped. The upper right-hand corner is the arena. The upper right-hand corner is the arena. Perfect arena for holding it's actually a little more intimate than the Pan Am Center, which might even be a little better. They also have these lecture rooms there. And then they have a big ballroom area that we would look to set up between the ballroom and the arena. And we would have probably tables and people in both sites with a connected hallway. That's a large hallway. So, it would suit us well. Let's take a look at the launch site. There were two possibilities. The one on the right is probably less likely because of the sagebrush. The one on the left is the one that we did a lot of evaluation on because as you can see, it's a very nice flat, barren place to launch rockets in, and very thankful for our hosts. We were hosted by RCS and also the SUU team who accompanied us the whole time we were there. So obviously a suitable spot to hold a rocket launch. To take a look at the site evaluation, Cedar City is actually called a festival city. They have the Shakespeare Festival. They have the Special Olympics. They have a number of fitness and outdoor activities that they support tens of thousands of people. So they have the ability to support the event. The Student Center, with its amenities, has plenty of space for us to hold the event. It has bonuses in that inside that facility, there is a cafeteria, there's a Chick-fil-A, there's a convenience store. So it would hold us, and it's used to catering to college students because it's a university, so but we would hold it at their facility. The award ceremony, plenty of room for our award ceremony. In fact, while we were there, they were putting on a big gala for Christmas, and they had a stage set up with all the bells and whistles that we would put in for our award ceremony. The launch site, here's a couple of things that we're working on. They're located on BLM land, and for the international students, BLM is the what's the B stand for?
Bureau of Land
Bureau
Management.
of Land Management.
Bureau. I was thinking Building of Land Management. No, it's the Bureau of Land Management, and they're a federal organization that manages the land that's actually on federal land, and so you have to get a permit to be able to use that land. And so right now we're in discussions with them on doing that, and we have requested a waiver to 50,000 feet AGL, and those aren't cemented yet. Okay, so these are ongoing discussions. One thing I will tell you right now is that we will make a decision by the last day of January, and we'll communicate that to you. There's some uncertainty with dealing with a federal agency here with the BLM side, um, which I'll be honest about. The waiver, we do have good contacts within the FAA and the Tripoli organization, who is the governing body for what we run under. So I'm encouraged by that. The university is Southern Utah University, which is a smaller university, has a lot of engineering. They do not have a aerospace program, but they do have an avionics program or an aviation program where and very intimate with and they have competed before. And you know, the one thing I want to stress on some of these is that the collaboration factor, I give it 100%. They want us, they want to work with us, they want to do whatever they can to help support the event. And so uh, they're really motivated to help us, get through some of these hurdles. But overall, a very adequate, more than adequate site. Would it be a very nice site, and it's beautiful. It's in Utah where there's flat plains, but then there's also snow-capped mountains. So it's a yeah, and as far as environmentals goes, holding this in June, I think the high temperatures are in the 80s and the lows can be as low as in the mid 40s degrees Fahrenheit. Next slide or next site.
Oh, Steve, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Just a couple of my notes. Parking at both of the facilities.
Yeah.
As far as the award ceremony and the convention center, parking will not be a challenge at either site.
Yep.
So that's a big plus across the board for both Midland as well as Utah.
Yep. Yeah. And in fact, the top left-hand corner, you can see there's three buildings here. The two on the left, or the three buildings on the left, are actually sort of dedicated to the rodeo. There's livestock pens and that sort of thing in there. But to the right is their convention center. If you look at the middle top picture, that's a picture of their dedicated stage. So it's not a temporary stage. They have that lighting there permanently and that stage there permanently. Next picture to the right is just a picture of a hallway, but it'll give you about midway through the hallway, and so it gives you a idea of the length of the site and the width of their hallways. The convention center floor is in the middle, bottom middle. That is capable of holding 6,000 people, which is about 4,000 more than the site in Las Cruces. So it would handle the tables well, would handle the sponsor areas well, and handle our abilities to run our operations, which include the flight readiness reviews and the poster sessions and the podium sessions. There's separate rooms for that, which is on the left, and manage our sponsor area very well. Just a reminder if you have questions, please use the Q&A function on this webinar, and we'll answer your questions at the end. So overall, and you see the parking facility there. If you look at, well, let me just back 1 second. On the other side of the buildings, there's even hookups for 40 some on RVs that have electric and water, and then there's also a dumping station right there. So they're geared towards large convention type people, and actually people from out of town with the RV hookups. So okay, let's go on to a view of their launch site. Similar to the area that is in Utah, but this one will have some mesquite bushes in it. Does not come with that handsome fellow on the left. It's a but it's a very nice large wide open area that has some of the things that aren't depicted there are things like it is an oil country. It does have oil wells, and it has some electric that would be in play. and we'd have to mitigate that as part of that launch area. One of the advantages of this is it's not on BLM land. It's all currently leased and is part of a aerospace vertical launch area that Midland Spaceport is looking to develop. Midland has a horizontal launch capability right now, and are in the process of developing this vertical launch area. So overall evaluation has the capacity and the experience. Convention center is biggest and would be the most comfortable. It's on private land, and we have verbal permission, and we're going into contract development with them. Waiver, we're in the process of requesting that right now, but we'll be requesting a 75,000 foot AGL. And we have good contacts with the FAA and our liaison between Tripoli and the person that manages the waiver and the site out at Black Rock for the Tripoli competition called our balls, not competition, but launch called balls. He manages that. Ward's facility right now they've got us earmarked towards another sort of smaller convention area that has flat seating, not stadium seating, and I've asked them to investigate other areas that potentially we could have that stadium seating. University, we're in progress. There's UT Permian Basin there, but looking to leverage the UT and the Texas A&M and Texas Tech and the Texas schools to have come together as kind of a consortium on this. And again, very motivated to help us with the site and bring this to Midland and Saragossa. And with that, that's it for the site evaluations. Please ask questions and put them in the Q&A. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anita Jimenez to go over what rules have been changed for this year.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So as we have noted, we do have new rules. They are released on the Sounding Rocket website as of December 23rd. So as the bottom bullet says, please review the full rules and requirements documents. If you have questions, I have started answering some on HeroX and send them in as you have them, but notable changes / clarifications. So that payload mass is now 4.4 pounds. So I know there's been communications on that. Our functional versus non-functional payloads, there are some clarifications on that, and weight and rules and corners. CubeSats must have corners. If your payload is not a non-functional payload, it has to be a 3U CubeSat defined in there. So take a look at that. Clarification, this is still from the 2024 rules, but just wanted to kind of drive this home. There is no late submissions, so that includes your progress updates. So any submission that's late could, result in completely a 0. If it's missing, there's incomplete penalties. So just look for those through the rules. And then the launch prepared bonus remains in effect, but it is cut drastically. So look for that update as well. And just to drive the point home, rules can be updated periodically. So always go to soundingrocket.org to ensure that you have the most recent rules, as long as with the D tags, just everything that's up there. We do try to communicate it. Sometimes it does get missed, but please review online to ensure that you have the newest ranks. So that's really all I have. Definitely ask questions in the chat or later on. That's what I have.
Thanks, Anita. Logan, over to you.
Yes, we've been asked for more information on ITAR after our communication on HeroX last month. So first, we wanted to say thank you. There were a lot of comments submitted by the students. Those are very helpful and make a difference for the regulator adopting positive changes. Ezra has also submitted its own long form version of that public comment. And now we wait. Regulators are going to read every single one of those comments and decide the next steps for the relevant regulations. No changes are in effect. We are proceeding as we always have. We're going to monitor for changes. We offer to the regulators if they want to talk to us. We're happy to collaborate with them. We'll update if we see a relevant change. As always, teams are responsible for their own compliance, and we're proceeding as usual.
Okay, that answers it perfectly. So let me take a second and thank you all for your time. We're going to go into a Q&A portion now, and as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, please submit it into the Q&A area, and then Matt, you're going to handle the questions that need to be answered.
So we've been answering a few of them in the chat over text. So we're gonna kind of split some of the answered questions over text and in person. So keep them coming in. But the first question we have is, are payloads allowed to be deployed at Apogee 10K COTS? If not, where can we see this written in the documentation? Thank you for your time. And do we have someone from DTAG or who wants to chime in on this? Otherwise, we can follow up on it.
And Andy, I mean, we have never, at least to my knowledge, restricted, the ejection of a payload at Apogee. The requirements are that that it does not contain any energetics, and that the payload that's been ejected has to contain a GPS tracker.
All right.
Andy, anything to add there?
This question's asking for documentation, so this will be I'll follow up on this. And the next question we have is, I'm aware this is a difficult question, but I think it's an extremely important one. Does Ezra believe they can protect LGBT plus students from legal and social discrimination, given they are the openly hostile legislative environment in Utah and Texas, and why? And let's
We're
see.
gonna. Is
Eric.
Erica on?
Yeah,
Yeah, Eric
yeah.
is on.
I can answer this one. So obviously there are a lot of decisions to be made in the decision-making process for choosing a new launch site. And we can tell you that all angles are being considered, including the concerns related to LGBTQ plus community, and we're listening to those concerns. We've been working with various members of our community, students, mentors, other friends and allies involved in that, so we can fully get everybody's opinions, thoughts, and we're always open to listen, first of all, for if you have specific suggestions, actions, or whatnot that we can do to make a competition more accessible or more welcoming for any demographic, we want to hear it. So please reach out, email us, post on HereWex. More specifically regarding your concerns, we do believe that we can host a safe and welcoming competition for all communities this year, regardless of our launch site. We are very closely monitoring what the legislation is. And again, as I've mentioned, regarding any aspect associated with the competition, we're committed to having a safe and welcoming competition. At the end of the day, we can't tell students what they're going to do after hours, before the competition, after the competition, but we are committed to making sure that it is a safe environment for all in that respect.
I can add in, as I was on site for both the visits, and we did ask both hosting providers the very specific questions about this, and both sites confirmed very aggressively that they have never had an incident at their facility during any of the events over the last at least 5 to 7 years that the people had been actively working there. We did double check to make sure, is male, female, family restrooms, is there other options, et cetera, et cetera. So, those are available at both the facilities. Obviously, out at the spaceport, it's going to be very similar to what it was at Spaceport America. So from the launch site standpoint, we are looking out for that. Again, if your feedback and input is really important to us, so please, anything that we can do, we're more than happy to jump forward and do anything we can to make sure you feel safe. Again, this is a rocketry competition. We want to focus on the rocketry and make sure everyone feels comfortable.
And I guess I'll add, if you remember from the beginning, one of my drivers for the event was safety first. And so not only are we committed to safety first on the on the range, but we also want to make sure that you all are comfortable and you feel safe and supported.
All right. Our next question is what weather support exists as far as winds, aloft, cloud, ceiling, etc. for each site?
Well, it's an interesting one. Right now, I would say that there isn't anything really so far as the what is available out at Utah, because that site is being developed, and I'm not sure so much about the site down in outside of Saragossa. But I will say that winds aloft is a uh, expensive proposition. The winds, surface winds, will certainly be monitored. We have weather stations that will be available at each one of the pad locations. But other than using the local data from the weather stations that are in that area, there isn't any special provision for, well, let's say late LiDAR or using, or having that sort of capability out at the site.
All right. The next question is with the 50K waiver at Utah, would the 45K dual stage category still happen?
If you're using commercial motors, yes. We'd have to take a look at it if you're using, experimental motors and how well that's been characterized and that sort of thing. But yes, we plan on the reason we are that is the altitude is that's what we want to get to. And it's a delicate balance between um, uh, uh, where what the flight vectors are in that area and being able to achieve a high altitudes.
All right. The next one is a little bit long of a question, so I can read it back again. But Kyle asks, outside of expanding the competition categories / increasing the waiver, what are the other rationales for switching sites? From an outside perspective, it seems that increasing the waiver is the primary motivation behind trying to switch sites, and it is a monumental task to move sites in such an accelerated time frame for the sole purpose of increasing the waiver. It would be great to get some more explanation on the rationale. Thanks.
Well, if you took a look at that the criteria, for evaluating a site, convention center is a big one. Having that experience inside the convention center, the and what that means from a from your comfort level and experience at the convention center. Because one of the things that we are not able to do also in New Mexico is with our STEM mission and we're trying to be the one event that could potentially excite the next generation, right? So having the ability to have the Boy Scouts, the college, I mean the local high schools, the middle schools, come and participate in an event like this is part of the reason we do it, right? We want to excite the next generation. The other side of it is we would like to have we want to make sure that we're challenging you all. I mean, a lot of we haven't changed our categories in since the inception of the event back in 2006. And if we're not challenging you guys, how many times can you come and participate in the same category without an additional challenge? So it's not just the altitude; it's the challenge, it's the environment, and it's with the formation of the advisory committee, I want to be able to make sure that we have both the academics and the industry that we're able to challenge you in what is needed in the world of aerospace.
And if I could add in, the Convention Center at Las Cruces, I just wanted to make sure with the larger size of our event this year, adding just 10, maybe 15 more teams, averaging 8 to 12 people per, we literally, if we had done that last year, we very easily could have had a fire marshal walk in on us and say, "You're done. you're over the max number of people for the building, everyone needs to evacuate. And there really is not any options. Running a tent outside, taking up vital parking space, running into situations with New Mexico State University, not allowing us to use their parking spaces. Just a lot of these things, as we continue to grow and get larger and more technical, more challenging, you have to have your host site be there with you, following you through all of this. And so we were running into more and more challenges and conflicts it got to the point where if we want to continue to grow and expand and keep you guys truly excited about it, the choice was made that we needed to make that move.
All right, the next question
Yeah,
is,
no,
oh,
I'm sorry, Matt. I will add one thing to that is, though, just so you understand, the spaceport and Las Cruces is still, I mean, if on the list, and is a site that we could very well end up back at, and that while we'll be able to expand the convention center. I just want to make sure that we're not closing the door on that. I mean, it is something that's still very much and very viable as part of our evaluation.
all right. The next question from Kyle Chun is, for pad operations, I've heard that a L3 cert person can only take 2 students who are L1 certified. Is this correct? Erica, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so generally for our pad operation rules, it is required that you have your L3 flyer of record or mentor, whoever that individual is. And then in addition to that, you would have 5 student team members. We usually try to limit to about 5 members at the pad to avoid congestion and things like that. This is primarily focused in the solid pads operations area. If you think that your team needs an exception to that rule, you can reach out and we will see if there's a good cause behind that. But to answer your question, no, you are allowed to take more than 2 students. When you have that fly of record, it would be 5.
And then just to expand just one little bit is they don't have to be certified, but they do have to be triply members so that the insurance is active. But they can level 0 out at the pad is fine.
All right, the next question, we've had a few questions about the date of the competition. And can we give any assurances that the date won't change?
I mean, everybody's travel plans depends upon it. And the fact that we don't have a city yet is equally challenging. So we're making a commitment to have that selection and make sure that the dates are cemented in stone by the end of the month. But consider the dates, unless there's uh, something that we can't anticipate right now. Count on the dates being the dates that have been published.
I think this one will go to Logan, if I understand it correctly, but the question is, if an international team in the future wants to attempt a high altitude demonstration with a motor larger than O class, is that allowed under the current ruling around international teams?
I don't think Ezra would support that. I don't see how the proposed regulations would change that from present to proposed future.
Cool. And if there are any changes, that's something we will highlight. The next question is, can you elaborate more on demonstration flights? Are these technological demos consisting of teams who aren't a part of the competition? And is it also open to individuals?
Right. And then Andy, you can
Yeah,
support me after this. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and take it?
Yeah, let me go ahead and take this one.
Yep.
So the demonstration flights were essentially opportunities for advanced teams who have competed successfully in the competition for years and years and have already done all the different categories. So they're at this point they're redoing 30K, SRAD, whatever, and there were no real opportunities to challenge them anymore. And so those teams were looking for an opportunity to go a little higher, a little faster. And so the demonstration category was created. And I think the definition of it has been twisted around a little bit in the past. We probably need to nail that down just a little bit better. But it is a non-competing category. And we want to make that very clear. And it is team-based. It is not individual-based by any means. This is not an opportunity for an individual to bring the big rocket out and launch it. You know, this is a university competition, and if a demonstration team wants to come forward and wants to compete or wants to fly in the demonstration mode, they are essentially doing that. They'll bring the rocket out, and they will be reviewed just like they are competing. All the safety reviews, none of that stuff will change. And again, another opportunity for potentially looking at a higher waiver is being able to compete in these areas where in the past traditional teams would only be able to go to FAR or maybe to BlackRock. We're trying to create an opportunity here where student teams can fly their demonstration flights in the middle of this competition.
Thanks, Andy. The next question we have from Anna O'Brien is, will the launch site setup be the same as last year, no matter the location, with Ezra providing each team a tent?
Although it'll be somewhat dependent upon supply, but that is absolutely our intention, is to supply the same sort of a prep area that we'll provide sun cover for.
All right, the next question from Chris Krupp is, does either the Texas or Utah site have more or less chance of clouds or other inclement weather than the others? I think details of weather can be answered offline. So
Yeah.
if you have any questions about that, there's a lot of good resources on the meteorology, and we can summarize that for you if you'd like, but we're gonna answer non-weather related questions.
Yeah, the clearest definition I can give to anyone is temperatures are the biggest difference. The Midlands will be somewhat similar to Las Cruces temperature wise, and with temperatures oftentimes come winds in the afternoons. Whereas Midland, both of them actually have relatively limited and mild rainfall. Even the southern Utah site is considered desert. So from that standpoint, you saw the video before. There's very little chance of rain. I think both of them have maybe 2 days out of the month with a little bit of rain. But it never rains in Las Cruces either, right? So, you always got to be flexible and you always got to be ready.
Yeah, until it does rain.
Until it does.
Right. Weather is weather, guys.
Yeah. Lords is asking, is it allowed to include small quantities of human tissue cell cultures contained within a small compact device in the payload, provided the device is sealed? I think Anita.
So there's a lot of answers around that one. I would definitely like some more details than what's here. So if you could post more on HeroX and we can see exactly what you guys are kind of thinking and doing. I know we've had discussions around certain things like this before. Andy or Steve, do you have any opinions right off the bat or
Sure,
new
I mean,
information
high
kind of
level,
needed?
high level, very simple stuff. Contagious?
Yeah.
Something that would be CDC controlled? Yeah, no. That's real clear. When you say cell culture, that could be a lot of different things. If you're talking about some skin cells, probably not a big deal. If you talk about maybe some kind of embryo, no. So, we need to know what in detail you're talking about, because there are opportunities where it would be approved and other opportunities where it's just not going to happen. So.
All right, the next question is, with the Midland launch site being even further away from housing than Spaceport is from Las Cruces, how far is the Utah site from housing? On the slides, we showed there are two sites. One is around 30 minutes and the other is about an hour. The next question, and that is to Cedar City, and there's plenty of housing in Cedar City. The second part of this question is, does Ezra anticipate the weather at Midland Cedar City would allow for later launches in the day? It's my experience in the past 3 competitions. The weather at Spaceport does not allow for safe launches in the afternoon, would Ezra shift the gate opening time so that teams are not waking up at 1 a.m. while sleep deprived.
Yeah, one of the things we're really going to try to address is sleep deprivation in students trying to get to the to the field, at ungodly hours. I think that both of the sites, if we took took a look at the last 10 years of wind data, it's very similar in that the conditions are always going to be better in the morning, and winds will pick up in the afternoon. Now, to the degree that they're not launchable, there may be some difference where the Las Cruces winds appear to be a little higher than it is at either of the other 2 sites. But again, weather is weather. But I will say that I think in terms of getting to the launch site and being able to get into your prep area, it will be, if it's at either Midland or in Utah, you can expect it to be less restrictive than it has been out at the spaceport.
All right, the next question is from David Fleiger. With the desire for a greater waiver and that 50K was applied for in Utah, is there potential for a higher waiver in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. The way the waivers work, and as a general rule, is demonstrate yourself. Make sure that you can demonstrate you can stay underneath the waiver, and that you're meeting all of the FAA requirements for the whole certificate of COA, and then apply again and potentially up the waiver, depending upon also what the flight vectors are like in that area, and how close you are to any travel lanes. Yeah, we're always going to be looking to go higher, higher, faster, more exciting. Better engineering. Yeah, there is an opportunity to go higher if that we prove ourselves, and that we work with the FAA to do that.
All right, great. The next question, out of curiosity, this is an easy one or a fun one. Out of curiosity, why was it changed from intercollegiate to international rocket engineering competition?
Good question.
Yeah. Well, I think right now, if we take a look at the mix of teams that are U.S. based versus internationally based, we're internationally, it's just slightly less than 50% of the teams, and it is the assumption that it is intercollegiate because we don't accept anything but college teams or university teams, and we want to recognize the international flair to the competition, because I think it's a big part of what we do. And we're interested in the engineering challenge, but there's also a social aspect of this, and building yourself and preparing yourself for the workforce, having the exposure and working next to a team from a different country, and being able to collaborate and share. And I think it's one of the large benefits you have from coming to the competition and working in that environment. So it's something I very much support and encourage, and would like to give recognition to our international teams.
I'm seeing a few questions about the no energetics rule for deployed payloads. I think that's a good question to follow up on HeroX for those details. So those answers we'll get back to you. And
You want me to answer the one for Steve Lubliner?
yeah, sure. Yep.
No, Steven, thanks. That's a good question. Support
Can you
source.
just read it out? Yeah, thanks.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. The question is, what are the closest support stores? Uh-oh, where'd it go? There it is. No, that was a different one. Did you mark it off?
I marked it. So we would, yeah.
All right. Basically, he was asking what are the closest support style stores for supplies, those kind of functions. I can promise you, folks, both Cedar City as well as Midlands have all the same stores that Las Cruces have. The Cedar City is a university town, very similar to Las Cruces, not quite the same in size. Midlands, while it does have several colleges and universities to it, it's a little bit more industrial, but absolutely, again, the convention center. Steve and I were sort of chatting about this when touring convention center. Not more than a block away is just about every fast food, Starbucks, everything. I mean, Ace Hardware, everything you can imagine, and it's just right around the corner. So again, these are not small little podunk, hole in the wall cities. These are nice cities with lots of very good hotels, and will not have any issues hosting you guys. And I think you'll enjoy the atmosphere quite a bit.
The next question we've got, once the final location is chosen, is Spaceport going to reach out to the hotels, restaurants, etc. in the area to let them know there will be a lot of people arriving around a certain date, and should teams reach out to those places themselves? Just one clarification, Ezra will be facilitating this. But yes,
Yeah. So in both of the locations that we went to, we have a good relationship with Las Cruces. It's well defined. We have Visit Las Cruces, which we would do that with. But in the other locations, both in the Utah site and the Texas site, we are also involved with the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, during our meetings, we met with the Chamber of Commerce representative, the Visit, Midland representative. And so they are very aware. And if their site is selected, believe me, there's going to be an awful lot of communication internally at the city itself, at a city level, and even potentially at the state level. I mean, one of the things I didn't mention that, we've been at the table with us in Utah was a representative from the senator's office. Mike Lee was there. And I know that we've reached out to the senators here in Texas as well. So to have that national exposure as well as just local exposure.
Yeah, we'll certainly be providing listings of preferred hotels and making sure rooms are set aside for you. Hopefully the discounts will be just as good as Las Cruces or better. And then we will have a premier host hotel that we'll send all the sponsors and VIPs to, and et cetera, and available for you guys as well. So again, it'll be very similar to what we have in Las Cruces.
Stephen also has a question. Will there be security personnel to secure the Texas or Utah sites at night? And then another one, are team costs going to be higher to cover services, security, medical currently provided by Spaceport?
Well, site dependent. There will be security overnight at each one of the sites because we want to make sure that we protect the assets that are out there as well as the students' assets. So there will be security. And what was the other part of that one, Matt?
Are team costs going to be higher to cover those services currently provided by Spaceport?
That's not anticipated because we pay for the services at Spaceport.
All right, so the next one is, this is going to be my 5th IREC, and congrats on maxing out. And just wondering why there isn't an award for 3rd place. Well, you get an award for doing all 5.
Well, I guess I can give you a little bit of history on why is there no 3rd place, because that is kind of odd. When we initially started, I believe there were 1st, 2nd, 3rds, and then all of a sudden we started adding in all these new categories and all these new technical awards and all these other things, and so the number of prizes and the time of the award ceremony kept getting longer and longer and longer, and so at this point, it unfortunately it would take us forever if we included 3rd place into the event. We do list out from that standpoint to who comes in 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way down, et cetera, et cetera. But right now we're going to stick to 1st and 2nd place and spread out more of the awards so that more opportunities are given in different areas.
It is now 9 o'clock or whatever your local time is. Are the panelists good to stay on for a bit more?
Yeah, these are
To
good questions.
keep going through these? And
Sure.
we've answered 68 so far and have 7 in our queue, so keep them coming. Stephen asks, will the Utah or Texas sites allow camping or overnight stays?
Well, the one is on BLM land, which is in Utah, and that is something that'll have to be part of that um, discussion that we have with the BLM folks. And the same thing, we'll entertain it. Don't commit to it at the moment.
The next question is, will there be a method for international teams to obtain black powder for recovery operations through Ezra?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can answer
certainly.
that one.
Yeah,
Nothing
ahead.
should change between this year and last year. We're still having a primary motor vendor who will be on site with all the supplies, including black powder. So it is preferred, though, that you reach out to that person. Once we announce the site, we will make sure and announce who that provider is. With the dates, et cetera. If you guys have not already ordered motors, please do so ASAP. Nonetheless, all the other supplies, including black powder, just let them know that you need some. They may make you pay for it up front, and they'll deliver it to you there.
We've got a question from Mitchell Millen. If need be, will rocket quarantine be available like last year if there are weather problems?
So so this is an area of focus for Sierra, and it's one of the areas that we're sticking our finger in to make this process better. Sierra, I don't know if you have anything you want to say about that.
Yes, hello. So sorry, I've been typing away. uh, but I did answer a few other questions related to this, but I am happy to say it out loud for anyone who might not be monitoring the answers right now. But we are completely restructuring our rocket quarantine process for this year for improved queuing. We won't have a lot of detail on that until the site is chosen so that we can organize based on the site, but we will be sending out a form soon for all of the teams to respond to. This will be an anonymous form that both teams and volunteers can respond to with feedback from last year. I plan to be the only one reading these reviews, so if you have any issue that you may have had last year with a specific person or anything, you can say it. I can look into it. I won't tell anyone, I promise. So look out for that, but we want to improve this situation. That's why the new position of Uprange Operations Manager was created. So this year we plan to improve a lot of our communication with the teams. Again, a lot of that will depend on the site, but we have plans on how we might fix, the radio systems that you could barely hear from at competition, our communications with the teams and volunteers throughout the day while we're at the launch site, and just overall trying to make this experience better for you guys. So look out for the survey, and we will get back to you soon with more information.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Sierra. Elizabeth Breckenridge asks, should teams expect to have any change in the remaining fees once a location has been chosen?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Quick and easy.
Yep.
There are some questions like, what are the elevations above sea level of the sites? Once a site has been selected, we will send out detailed information, and you
Well,
should have. Oh,
you know
Steve, do you
what?
have?
We could actually do it before. Well, we'll publish, I guess, sort of the GPS coordinates and let you all take a look at your potential. I mean, it sounds like a simulation question to me, right? So I'd be happy to publish the GPS coordinates and let you all go to town on the environmentals as well as the where it is above sea level.
Great, cool. That's exciting. Um, We've got another question. Given the preemptive costs such as rooming, rentals, motors, are there any other travel, the ITAR regulations would drastically affect the participation of international teams? If these were put in place, would the payments made to Ezra for the competition be fully refunded?
I would anticipate, first of all, I don't anticipate any effect on this year's competition. If that does happen, we certainly will take a look at that and do what's right. So that's all I can say.
Kyle Chun asks, in the event that a rocket is on the pad and weather violates launch commit criteria, would the team be able to go to the pad to disarm electronics? Not sure if this is what you mean by rocket quarantine. Erica, if you want to take that.
Yeah, I can take that one. So what Sarah was talking about with rocket quarantine, that was a new process that we had implemented last year at the competition. So this is before you really leave the student prep area to go out to the pads. You go through that final flight readiness review, and then your rocket goes into holding until it's your turn to go out to the pad. So that's what we would kind of refer to as the flight quarantine. In regard to being able to go to the pad and disarm electronics, we did have a similar situation happen last year where we had rain in the middle of the day. And so what we did have was allow teams to come out and disarm or fully stand down if they wanted. It was kind of up to them if they needed to fully reset. So yes, if there is going to be inclement weather that we can see coming and we don't anticipate we're going to be able to launch the rockets, we will pause to allow those teams to fully stand down, partially stand down, turn off electronics, kind of just buckle down for the storm.
The next question we have, since most waivers are sunrise to sunset, what times do we expect operations to stop and end? Also, what would the solar azimuth be? We can send the solar azimuth with the GPS coordinates, but
Well, there.
Yeah. Let's see. So we'll have a waiver sunrise to sunset.
Yeah.
You know,
If the wind doesn't stop us, we'd be launching.
and the goal would be, with our increased or our improved processes up on the front end of this thing for before getting things out to the pad, I expect us to be able to take advantage of the weather when it's good.
The next question we have, for international students applying for a visa, there is a mandatory section we need to complete regarding the location where we will be staying. Do you have any recommendations considering the process takes quite a long time?
I'll just take that one. I've been working with the visas, I guess. If possible, I would highlight all three cities, Las Cruces, Cedar City, and Midland, Texas. And when they ask the question like, hey, you can't stay at three, like the hosting organization has not determined at this point. Now, again, the end of January, that decision will be made and you'll have firm location where you're going to be staying. If you've got to do something before that date, before that decision's made, I would fill in all three cities.
And we've got a few, okay. The questions are disappearing before my eyes because of our diligent panel answering them.
That's awesome. That's great, guys. That's really
And
great.
another question similar to that, as an international student that does not require a visa application, do I still need to apply for a visa? I would say Ezra is not the legal representative for your visa handlings. But if anyone else has guidance on this, I'll allow that.
No, I can jump in real quick on that one. You need to double check with I guess the Department of State for the United States and determine if your country is requires it or not. There are many countries that do not. The Canada's and Australia's and several European countries. The folks in Turkey, India, others have to fight that battle quite a bit. And so double check with the website and make sure where your country falls. And then again, if you've not already started filling out your visa paperwork, just let you know it can take a long time. So we've got students that are already being interviewed, meaning they submitted their request, probably back in November and even earlier. So again, the importance of getting that visa done quickly is can't be stressed enough.
All right, we just cleared through the queue, so I no longer see any open questions. So if folks still have open questions, there we go. I'll take this one just because I saw it. It looks pretty specific. So in section 6.19 of the DTAG, how come we are not allowed a transmitter of more than 200 milliwatts in a rocket containing an SRAD avionics? What if the transmitter is in a separate location than the SRAD? Um, if no one wants to answer this, this is something we can respond to offline.
Yeah, I personally can't respond to that. It would be a Ken Overton question, and Ken is in New Zealand right now, so.
All right, so I will follow up on this one.
Yeah, he's
Cool.
checking out the third new potential launch site. I'm just kidding. He's not.
There have been a few questions about cell service at the different sites. Steve and Andy, do you want to just mention it? We've answered a lot of those questions already, but I think folks, it's nice to hear about what you guys saw.
I can answer from my side. Steve, you can jump in from your side. So I had two phones with me. I had my AT&T and also had my Verizon, and both of those seem to have fairly good connectivity, both obviously within the cities, no problems at all, but out at the launch sites, not bad. Not bad. Actually, at least as good as Las Cruces, if not better.
And I had T-Mobile as a carrier, and T-Mobile was maybe just a hair less than the AT&T and Verizon's, but certainly workable and adequate out there.
And Logan, do you want to comment on maybe what some of the research you've done not being out there? If not, you can.
I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, Matt.
Okay, that's all right. Disregard. Any issues with GPS connectivity at the sites?
Well, we don't have White Sands jamming us, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I unless we take a GPS unit out there and test it, right now I don't have any idea,
Well, I
but I
mean,
don't have any reason to anticipate that there would be any problem with transmitting in the 70 in the ranges that we use for our transmitters.
and
70
the
centimeter band
cell
and
phone
33
GPSs were
centimeter
working great.
band. Yeah, and I don't know about 900 megahertz, but I think I don't know why it would be any different than any other site that has long, straight, unobstructed views, which the two launch sites currently have.
We had two questions about Starlinks at the site. Logan looks like he's typing them, I think, typing an answer. Your teams are allowed to bring Starlink to the site.
Yes, but you have to donate half your bandwidth to live stream.
Ezra,
And
yeah.
we are not committing to providing internet through Starlink at the site at the time. But you could bring your own.
Now, the same rules apply to generators. So if you bring a generator out there and you're relatively close by another group that's working with energetics or working with their motor, whatever the case might be, your generator needs to be quiet, as opposed to the food truck that we had a couple of years back. So it needs to be a very quiet generator, relatively small, and it should not be bothering anyone or posing any type of safety risk to anybody else.
All right, we have a question about energetics and payloads. I mentioned this might be, we'll clarify this in HeroX, but if anyone
Yeah,
wants to take a stab.
we'll aggregate those questions and then
Yep.
respond to them.
But the question was, will we be able to incorporate energetics into a payload intended to be deployed at apogee and independently recovered? So yeah, just expect clarification on this on HeroX shortly. Let's see, we've got two answers that are getting
Being
typed
answered.
answers. Yeah, so if we've got additional questions, please shoot them over.
I can address
Um,
that one regarding step ladders rather than typing it out here.
yeah, let's do that.
For our launch site, I'm talking here specifically on the single stage solids pads where most teams will be operating from. We will have a variety of ladders between 6 feet and 10 feet tall. So there will be plenty to use and to go around. If you need something else, I would encourage you to bring your own. If you are looking for more of those special projects between hybrids or 2-stage or demonstrations flights, if you could clarify that, that'd be great.
I think there was a question in there, Paul. I don't know if you were able to answer it about nitrous gases and stuff and the availability of that.
I think he answered that. Yeah, but
I already answered that.
Thanks, sir. Perfect.
and I think if there are no more questions, that'll be a wrap of our first January town hall Q&A. One more. Okay, anonymous attendee, get it in. Are we allowed to put cameras out on the pad and recover them after flight? Yes.
Encouraged.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
so
speak to that.
hopefully folks found this Q&A meaningful, got some questions answered. This is not going to be the last Q&A. We anticipate to have another one, and we'll share the dates very shortly.
Matt,
So
let me go ahead
Hey,
and
Matt, it should be just after we select the site.
all right, I'll let you guys sign off if you want.
actually let me add one more quick thing. I'm just going to blurt it out. The main motor providers for this year will be once again Wildman Hobbies. So they will be running various different training sessions on how to build motors on site. I've been working with Tim for the majority of the year. He's very excited to come back out with his team. And again, please, if you're an international team and you're not sure how to get your motor purchased or get your motor to the site, if you work with these primary providers, Wildman Hobbies will be your #1 choice, and Aerotech RCS will be your second choice. They both are partners, so it doesn't really matter which one. And again, they work together to provide a training class on how to put your motor together successfully. And they've already promised to do that, whichever site is selected. I think that's it.
That's it. I think Andy or Steve, do you want to say anything else? Otherwise,
No, I just thank you all for your time. We're dedicated to make this better and better every year, both from a process standpoint and a challenge, and that's motivating us. So thank you all for your time and attention, and thank you to the Ezra volunteers that participated tonight.
thanks everyone.
All right, thanks, Matt.